see. All right, so John has a question here. He'd like to show how to load a strategy or a template. Yeah, so more correctly be how to load a template file, I guess, into BlackBird, and then set the order quantities, and then how to set it up to run in auto trader mode. All right, you bet, John. So let's get the charts up and going here. All right, yeah, give me a moment here while I switch over my data feeds. So let me get BlackBird up and running here. All right, so we're going to go to the strategy component here on your chart. And I already have BlackBird on my chart here from last week. So, but normally you would find BlackBird underneath the shark indicators folder there, and there's BlackBird right there. All right, so anyways, so if you already have BlackBird up on your chart here, probably the only thing you need to do is just hit the enable button there and hit the OK button. All right, so we're going to open up the order settings here. Click on the button down there, and you'll notice this menu may pop up the first time. So that's basically just the menu system building. Right, so Ninja 8 has a whole new interface system here, and it takes a little longer for that interface to build. So that's what that splash screen is just the software building the interface here. All right, so if you're wanting to load a template here, well, there's two ways you can do that here. So actually, let me kind of back up here. So back in the strategies window here from the chart, right, there's the BlackBird settings. So you can click on that, and you'll notice everything's kind of grayed out here. So once you've turned your strategy on, NinjaTrader doesn't allow you to modify your strategy settings in any way. So if you did want to modify something, you have to disable it, right? Hit apply, and then you can change stuff here. So let me just add a second BlackBird on here. All right, and so at this time, I would not recommend putting two BlackBirds on your chart yet. So there's still some interface things that need to be worked out here before we can start adding two BlackBirds on the chart. But with this new BlackBird, right, it hasn't been enabled yet, so I can modify things. So the first way that you can load up a template, right, is before you actually enable the strategy. You can click on the BlackBird settings button here, and that'll open up. All right, that'll open the open window here, and you can select a file here, right? So so far I don't have any BlackBird files yet in my Ninja 8, but you could just select a file and click open. That's one way to load a file into BlackBird right away. So let's remove that. And the second way you can load a file into BlackBird is right in BlackBird's order settings window. You can hit the open button there, and it just opens up the same open window that I did previously from the strategy window from the chart there. Right. So that's one way. So there's the two ways you can load a strategy. All right, let's see. So the second part of John's question is how to set order quantities. All right, so let me create a couple of orders here. And again, the first time that you start an order, it's just going to take a few seconds to build the whole interface. But once it's built, everything runs a lot faster here. Okay, so now we got the market order. and I'll create another market order. So the order quantity is this number here on the top left, right? So you can see I can toggle up and click down and click up the number of contracts here, right? Or you could just type in there if you want. You can click in there and type a number. So whatever you like, right? That's how you change the number of contracts. All right. Now, the last part of the question and would be how to get BlackBird to run, as a full auto trader. Well, right now, so let me just click OK here. So even though you can enable or disable the auto trader here, right? You can see the buttons kind of mute themselves, or or their full brightness there, or they light up, right? So right now, BlackBird is enabled in full auto mode, but BlackBird doesn't have any trade signals to trade. So, right, in order to turn BlackBird into a full auto trader, you have to provide trade signals to it, right? So right now, BlackBird has no idea what signals to trade. So let's just load up an example file here that I use. So, and we're going to click on the template file here. So there we go. There's our Bloodhound interface. And I have this crossover test 2 that I use. It just has a bunch of miscellaneous trade signals in it. Actually, I wouldn't call them trade signals. Definitely wouldn't want to trade anything in this template. And let's see. Oh, no, wrong one here. Sorry. Let me switch over to the Logic tab. And let's see. Yeah, I'll use this price inflection with the MACD filter. So that gives a bunch of trade signals, like so. All right. So now that we have some trade signals set up in BlackBird, now BlackBird has something to auto trade, right? So of course I don't really have I don't have any profit targets or stop losses set up here. So let me, I guess I'll just create something real quick, just something to work with here, right? There, just make something quickly. So this, also you'll notice that sometimes some menu elements don't disappear, right? So we're still working on flushing out all these weird little quirks with the interface here. So let's see here. I could just click OK, and that should click on it. There we go. Yeah, so you can see if some kind of if a component of the menu system is still kind of floating around on the screen, you can just click on it and it'll disappear. So let's see here. So what I've created here, right? I've created 3 contracts that have a 10 tick profit target, a 10 tick stop loss, and then my second order set here is just a runner, right? So there's no profit target for it. So I guess most people would refer to this as just a runner, and you just let your stop loss, trail up with your runner here. All right, so now I've got an order set here, some contracts to trade. Now we can get this thing trading here. Let's see here. So I have a Pro Ranko on my chart. And let's see here. Yeah, let me add Bloodhound to the chart so we can see that Bloodhound template with the signals. So let me back up here just a moment. So another thing that we're working on is getting Bloodhound to show up on the chart correctly. So we haven't managed to get that flushed out yet. So for right now, I would recommend that you disable the show on chart if you're using, if you're bringing in Bloodhound signals here. I would disable the show on chart for now. All right, so click OK, and then let's add Bloodhound on here, and let me load up that crossover 2. There it is. Load that into Bloodhound, and we'll click OK. So what I did is I just added Bloodhound to the chart separately, right, as an indicator, instead of having Bloodhound loaded on the chart from BlackBird. So, and let's see here. Let's select the signals. There we go. All right. And yeah, I need to delete that time session solver out of this because I'm missing the, let's see, I am missing the session template in Ninja 8. So it's the one kind of a bummer about NinjaTrader, that session templates don't get copied over from machine to machine, or even from Ninja 7 to Ninja 8, they didn't get copied over. So let me take a moment here to clean this up. There it is. Yeah, let's delete that guy. All right, so I'm just scrolling through all the logic templates here in Bloodhound to make sure I have all those time session solvers deleted. Yep, okay, they're all gone. There we go. All right, and to make sure that time session solver is completely deleted, I also need to remove it from the solvers. So I know this isn't really a Bloodhound workshop here, but there we go. All right, and so now if I reload my chart, that will get rid of the little error message from Bloodhound. There we go. All right, there, everything's cleaned up now. All right, so so now we can see the trade signals. So let's see here. If I reverse the trend up, and, oh, you know what? I think I need to roll over my contracts here. Oh, and yeah, let's load the current date on here. There. All right, there we go. So the MAC. All right, so this Bloodhound signal here, it says price inflection with a MACD filter. So basically, it's just, you can see it's these the signal is on these reversal bars, right? On each of these reversal bars, and it's the reversal bars are just filtered out with the MACD. So if the MACD is above 0 or below 0, so if you're getting long signals, that means the MACD is above the 0 line. If you're getting short signals, then it means the MACD is below the 0 line. So I need to get another signal here. I need to get a reversal down signal. And I'll just let one more bar go by, and then I'll pull the trend down, and that should, so once I get a down bar, that should create a short signal. As long as the MACD is still below the 0 line, which I'm sure it is after this nice long downtrend move here. There we go. Oh, shoot. I forgot to turn the auto trader on there. All right. So let me create another reversal down bar. And, oh, let's see. Did I forget to do one more thing? Yes, I did. Sorry. I was in so much of a rush here. Yeah, in BlackBird here, if you open up the trade signals here, I have the entry signal template. It's selected, but I didn't actually select a logic template. There we go. So let's select that logic template. There we go. All right, let's give this one more shot. Okay, so on this next down bar, now we should get some trades going here. There we go. All right, cool. And let me neutralize the trend here. So you can see, let me grab an arrow here. So we can see the total number of contracts underneath the stop loss orders here. So there's 5 total contracts, right? So there's two stop loss orders, right? One with 3 contracts and one with 2 contracts. And there is our profit target right there. All right, so if we open up the order set again, all right, so the first order set with the profit target has 3 contracts, and the second order set, that's a runner, no profit target, has 2 contracts. All right, John, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, great. Yeah, so Robert has a question about setting up 2 profit targets and a trailing stop loss system here. Okay, good. All right, so let me clear this out here. So there's a little clear button here, and that will clear BlackBird out for us. All right. So you'll notice that whatever you do in this order settings window, right, is not going to affect your current trade here that's open. Right, so you can do whatever work you want in BlackBird, but it's not going to affect any open position here. All right, so Robert's question, it's got 2 profit targets here. All right, so the first profit target, let's see, I guess Robert, the entry orders are just going to be market entry orders. So I'll make them with a market entry. All right, so the first profit target is going to be 5 ticks. All right, so I'm going to use from this quick list here, I'm just going to use the 10 tick one, and then we'll open up the profit target and go to our initial placement. And then down here in the offset section, down here, we'll just adjust this down, adjust it down to 5 ticks, right? There you go, 5 ticks. And you'll notice that the short side reverses itself automatically. All right, so as I adjust so on the left, is the settings for taking a long trade, right? You'll see up here it says long trades. So everything on the left side is the settings for taking a long trade, and on the right side are the settings for taking a short trade. So, so when you set up the long side, you'll notice it also sets up the short side in the opposite manner, right? So if for some reason you wanted different settings for a long trade versus a short trade, you can actually disable this sync button here. So you notice it's now disabled, and so I can change the number of contracts for a long trade, and the short trade still is just a 7-tick profit target. Right? So, but most people like to keep their short trades and long trades in sync. So, all right. So we have our first profit target, adjusted to five ticks, like so. That's that. And so now let's set up the stop loss for it. All right, so we have an initial stop of 6 ticks, but then once we get 3 ticks in profit, we're going to move that stop loss up 1 tick. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little shortcut here and go down to the trailing and use this 10-tick trail with a break even. And so basically this has one of the trailing rules that that is needed here. And then we can just go in and just adjust the settings here. So again, the initial stop loss is going to be 6 ticks. So we'll go in here and adjust our initial placement, and we'll adjust this to 6 ticks, like so, right? And so keep in mind that for long trades, your stop loss orders are going to be negative values, right? Because stop losses are below the entry order, right? So this means negative 6 ticks is 6 ticks below your entry price, right, for a long trade, right? And of course your profit targets are going to be positive numbers because your profit target is always above your entry price for a long trade. So, all right. So we have our initial stop loss of 6 ticks. Now we can switch over to the trailing actions tab here. And now address the stop loss movements here. All right, so I'm going to use this break even trailing rule here. I'm going to just adjust it for the let's see, we're going to adjust this so that when there's 3 ticks in profit, we're going to move to a 5-tick stop loss. So I'll first change this name here. All right, so we're going to move our stop loss to negative 5 ticks once we get to 3 ticks in profit here. All right, so 3 ticks in profit is what we're looking for. So we're going to adjust the initial delay. So remember that break even rule that this was, right? It was moving to break even at 10 ticks, but now we actually want to move that stop loss when we get 3 ticks in profit. So there we go. Adjust the ticks in direction to 3 ticks. Let's see, there's no trigger. The action here. So this action, it moves the stop loss to the entry price plus 1, right? So the entry price plus 1 would be, it's the same thing as saying break even plus 1, but we're actually going to, instead of it being a break even plus 1, we're actually going to set it to the negative 5 ticks. Right? So a negative 5-tick stop loss, right? You take your entry price and subtract 5 ticks, right? And of course, if we go over here to the initial placement, right, a 6-tick stop loss is from your entry price minus 6 ticks. So in the trailing rule, we're just doing the same thing. We're taking the entry price, and then subtracting 5 ticks. All right. Now, of course, this trailing rule only happens once, so our repeat is going to be left on none, so no repeating this rule here. And let's see here. All right, yeah, so that's it. That's the stop loss for profit target number 1 here. And so we're not actually doing any trailing, right? Profit target 1, I guess you would call it a scalper, right? The scalper contract. So it's not going to do any trailing here. So I'm going to hit the X here and delete that 10 tick trailing rule. It's not necessary. All right, so there's our first order set. And what I'm going to do is just make a copy of it. And then I can go and adjust the profit target and stop loss here for the second second contract here. All right, so our profit target number 2 is 10 ticks here. So let's open this up and we can just go in here and adjust this to 10 ticks like so. All right, easy enough. Or if I wanted to, I could have just deleted that profit target and then just selected 10 ticks. So 2 ways to go about it. All right, now the stop loss here for target number 2, it is going to move, actually it's going to start trailing. Yeah, so this stop loss here for target number 2, it's going to start trailing once profit target number 1 has been filled or has been hit. And we're going to trail by 5 ticks. All right, so we need to go over to the trailing actions tab here. And let's stretch this out. So let's add a trailing rule. All right, so rule B is, let's see, so, all right, so when target 1 is hit, then we're going to trail by 5 ticks. There we go. All right, so to get this started here, we need to know when target number 1 is hit. Right? So that's going to be a trigger function here. So instead of using the initial delay right here, so remember one of the trailing rules uses this initial delay. We need a special condition here to know when target number 1's hit. So that's going to be the trigger on here component. And if we open this up and let's see here, we want order status changed. There we go. So order status changed. So what does that mean? Well, we're looking for the profit target number 1 order, right? And we're looking for its status to change, right? We're looking for it to get filled, right? So either so your profit target number 1, either it's working, out there in the market, or it's filled. And so when it gets filled, the order status changes for target number 1. So okay, so then we need to select, which order are we looking for. So that's going to be, there you go, profit target A, right? So profit target A, you can see it's 5 ticks, right? So target number 1 is order set A. So, and the mode, couple of modes. So if you're trading, let's say target number 1 has 2 contracts, right? You could wait for all 2 contracts to get filled, or let's say more reasonably, let's say you're trading 20 contracts for our first profit target, right? You could set it so that you need to get all 20 contracts filled, before the stop loss starts trailing, or you could say, you know, if just one out of all 20 contracts gets filled, or sorry, not all, any. Yeah, so if any of the contracts in profit target number 1 get filled. All right, so that's how we detect when target number 1 gets hit or filled, like so. And then next is going to be adjusting our action here. So where are we moving the stop loss to? Well, we're going to again start trailing by 5 ticks. All right. So if you're trailing the market, you know, when you're trailing the market, you're using the last printed price here, right? So every time the market inches up, you know, tick by tick by tick, you know, you want to analyze the last price, right? So that's what NinjaTrader calls it. So NinjaTrader calls it the last price, wherever the current market is. So we're going to take the last price and then trail by 5 ticks. So remember, stop losses are negative values for a long trade here. And that is it. So that's how you set a 5 tick trailing stop loss, is you take the last price and subtract 5 ticks from it. Now the repeat, since this is a trailing roll, a continuous 5 tick trailing roll, we need to set the repeat to indefinitely. Now you have a couple of options here when you want your stop loss to keep trailing. You know, so you can see the default, it says every bar, right? So you could have the stop loss wait for the bar to close, and then it'll move itself up, you know, 5 ticks below the current market price. But most people want to use a tick by tick trailing here. So normally most people will want to use ticks. So as the market moves up tick by tick by tick, this repeat, well, this trailing roll will keep moving the stop loss tick by tick as the market moves up or down. So that is it. Just that simple. All right, so now that we have this here, let me save this. Yeah, I'll save this order set here. All right, something like that. I guess that's good enough for, it's a pretty lengthy file name there. Yeah, all right. So our stop loss is an initial 6 tick, and then when profit target 1 gets hit, it's going to move to 5 ticks and then trail by 5 ticks. So save that. All right, so once we think we have everything set up, next thing is to go and test it. All right, so hit OK. Let's just go long. Okay, there we go. And bingo. Right. Cool. Let me neutralize the trend here and take a look at the chat window. John is asking, will BlackBird allow you to move stops backwards? Yeah, in the opposite direction of a stop loss. Extended outward. Yes, it can, but you do have to turn a couple of things off. So by default, you know, BlackBird is set up to make sure that stop losses don't move backwards or move against the direction of the trade. So let's open up BlackBird here and I'll show you what you have to adjust. So go into the risk management here, and you need to enable this, allow widening of stop losses during a trade. So you need to enable that first. And then also, when you go into your trailing rules here, in the action here, you'll notice that in action there's this allowed movement. So you will also have to adjust this for both directions. Or maybe your trailing rule is only designed to just move against the direction, but in any case, you'll have to set the allowed movement to both directions or against the direction of the trade. All right, so just the allowed movement. And then if it's a repeating rule here, let's see here. Let me open up this repeat indefinitely here. So if it's a repeating rule, again, depending, you'll notice that under ticks, right, there's 3 tick options here. There's any direction, in direction, or against direction, right? So again, you'll need to make sure that your repeat every is either using any direction or against direction, right? And if you're using bars, bars doesn't have a direction. Bars is just whenever the bar closes. Or if you're using points, make sure you're using points any direction or points against direction if you want to be able to move that stop loss, widen that stop loss. All right there, John. So there's 3 spots that you need to check, right? So the risk management, again, enable the widening, allow widening. And then when you're creating your trailing rules, you'll need to make sure that the action, allow movement, I'll adjust the allow movement. And then in the repeat, if you're using a repeat, check the in direction, against direction, or any direction. So Frank is asking, so using the current example, can I show how to set I guess you could say, a tightening trailing stop loss as the amount of profit increases? Actually, let me do something from scratch, because these profit targets are too tight to really kind of do a proper tightening of the stop loss here as profits increase. So let's just kind of start from scratch. All right, so I'll just use a market entry and let's create a profit target here. And I'll just make a huge 100 tick profit target. Actually, let's just not even use a profit target at all. Well, actually, no. Frank wanted to use the existing example here, so yeah, I'll make this a 50 tick profit target, something pretty big. That way we can watch the stop loss tighten up, keep getting tighter and tighter. So let's see here. I'll start off as just a 10 tick, initial 10 tick stop loss, right? And really what the question is about is setting up some trailing rules here to tighten the stop loss. Let me adjust the initial stop loss here again, so we can exaggerate everything so we can see it more easily on the chart here. I'll start this as like a 25 tick stop loss. All right, so in the trailing actions tab, we'll set this to custom, and now we can start adding trailing rules. Let's see here. So I guess the simplest way to do this, let's say, we have 50 ticks here. So I'll set this to, once we get 5 ticks in profit, we'll adjust our stop loss to be a 20 tick, and make sure that's a negative number there, 20 ticks. There you go, 20 ticks. All right, so once we get 5 ticks in profit, this will, actually, let's, you know what? Let's make the first trailing rule just trailing. So, yeah, this first trailing roll is just going to start trailing the stop loss immediately here. So we'll have our first stop loss trailing just be that 25 tick trailing here at the very beginning. And let's set the repeat. So we'll make sure that this trailing roll repeats every tick. There we go. All right, so as soon as the this order is placed, our stop loss will start trailing by 25 ticks immediately, right? As soon as we get 1 tick in profit, this is going to start trailing by 25 ticks. So let's see, let's name this here. Okay, there's that one. Let's create another trailing roll, and we'll make this one a 25 tick or 20 tick trail. And yeah, so once we get to 5 ticks in profit, let's see here. Yeah, I'll set it to 10 ticks. That way we can see that trailing. We don't want the trailing to start moving, to start adjusting on us too quickly here. Okay, so 20 tick trailing at 10 ticks of profit. All right, so next let's go to actions, and we need to set this to our 20 ticks like so. Right, and again, you know, when you're trailing behind the market, you know, by X number of ticks, you're always trailing the last price, right? So by default, this is set to the last price here, right? So yeah, and again, if you're wanting your trailing rule to move that stop loss to a fixed location, you know, from the entry price, right? So if you just, right, so again, if you use the last price when you're creating a stop loss trailing, right, that keeps moving up tick by tick by tick, you know, from the highest price where the market has moved. But if you're just wanting to move your stop loss to a fixed location and set it there and leave it there, then your anchor point is going to be the entry price, right? So you'll always have a known entry price, and then so if we moved, you know, so this would just set the stop loss 20 ticks below the entry price, right? And of course, the entry price never moves, so the stop loss would never move. It would just get moved to that new location, and it would just sit there, right? So this really isn't a trailing stop loss. This is just adjusting the stop loss to a new location, right? So if you're just moving your stop loss, yeah, I guess a good way of saying it is if you just want to move your stop loss to a fixed new location, you're gonna, you know, use the entry price, you know, as your anchor point. But if you want your stop loss to continuously move tick by tick as the market, you know, moves up, or as the market, you know, moves in a profitable direction, then you want to use the last price and then have an offset. So, all right, so there you go. So that's a 20 tick trailing stop loss. And again, we'll set our repeat to indefinitely and make sure that this moves tick by tick. So there you go, ticks in direction. Okay, and so now let's make another one here. And I'll just copy the name. So we'll make a 15 tick trail when we get to 20 ticks in profit. All right, so let's open the initial delay and set this to 20 ticks in profit. There we go. So basically what the initial delay is doing, what it's really kind of saying in English is that once the market has moved, or once our trade has achieved 20 ticks in profit, then this new trailing rule can kick in. All right, so let's go to actions, and we said this was going to be a 15 tick trailing, like so, there. And again, repeat indefinitely, set it to ticks, there we go. All right, let's create another trailing roll. So 10 tick trailing. Once we get to 30 ticks in profit. All right, so this is a 10 tick trailing now after 30 ticks in profit. And then again, set our repeat. There we go. And all right, yeah, we'll do one more here. All right, so a nice tight 5 tick trail. When we get to, let's see, 40 ticks in profit. Okay. All right, that should do it. Yeah, let's go take this for a spin. Let's see here. Let's take a short trade here, and let's pull the market down. And let me lock. Yeah, let me lock the scaling there. All right, we're almost at 10 ticks. Boom. All right, there was that huge jump. All right, almost at 20 ticks. So we should see another big jump here once we hit 20 ticks. There we go. All right, we're almost at 30 ticks here, and we should see another big jump. There we go. There's our big jump. All right. Yeah, so what are we at now? We're at the 10 tick trailing, I believe. Yeah. And once we get to 40 ticks in profit, then we'll move to a 5 tick trailing here. Of course, what we're doing is we're watching the ticks in profit there on the entry flag. There you go, 40 ticks, boom, 5 tick trailing. So with that, guys, have a good weekend, and I hope to see you all next week. All right, guys, bye-bye.